All right, good morning everyone. Mr. Venturski back today. Hopefully everyone had a chance to go and complete the first integer assignment, which was simply adding integers or writing integer statements. The next one here is going to be adding integers, not so much writing out addition statements, but actually answering the types of questions. And one thing that we're going to be working on, and you're going to be seeing, is number lines. Now, in some cases, you're going to need to draw them. In some cases, they're going to be drawn for you. And you simply need to write the addition statement and then solve the answer. So I have 3 up here today. Hopefully you can see them okay. Now, you're going to notice right away that on each number line, there is a line going one way and then a line going the other way, or in some cases, they're both going the same way. Each one of those lines represents an integer, whether it's positive or negative. So the first thing we want to do is start with the one closest to the number line, and let's write down that integer. So if we look here, this one here starts at -1, okay? And it's going in the, oh, I'm sorry, it should be starting at 0. My apologies. And then same with this one here, should be starting at 0 as well. Starting at 0, and it's going right, which means it's going towards the positive integers. So if we count here, we go 1, 2, 3. So this is +3. And these are all addition statements, so make sure you write your plus sign. If it's subtraction, it will specify subtraction. Now, if you notice, the next line is going left on the number line towards the negative side. And let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going 7 spaces towards the negative, so we'd say it is -7. Now, the nice thing about having the number line is it already gives you the answer, because look right there, it ends at -4. So our answer, +3 plus -7 equals -4. You could also draw that out with integer chips, although it doesn't ask you to do that, but we'd end up with exactly the same answer. So if we had, for example, 3 positive integer chips, and then we added 7 negative ones, you'll notice that these ones cancel out, they become 0 pairs, and we'd be left with 4 negatives, just like our answer right there. Hopefully you can see that. I don't usually do this type of teaching, but I can't seem to replicate the number lines really well on a computer, so that's hence why I'm doing it on the board. Let's go to the next question we have here. And this one is a little bit different because they're both going the same way, and our number line is actually shifted much heavier towards the negative end than the positive end. Remember, let's start with 0, which is where our number line begins, and let's just count. 1, 2, 3. So we're starting off with the number of -3, or 3 spaces to the left. We're adding integers here. And then we go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're adding 4 negatives because it's going towards the negative side. And just like our first answer, we just add them together. We had 3 negatives, we added another 4. That leaves us with 7 negatives, which is, look, exactly where it ends on the number line. Now, if we did this with integer chips, we had 3 negatives. We added 4 more negatives. And we ended up with a total of 7 negatives. The last one here, very similar to the first question, although we're going in opposite directions this time. Let's start at 0, 1, 2, so it's -2, because it goes 2 spaces towards the negative. And then we're going to be adding positives, because it's going towards the right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positives. Now, this will actually tell us where our answer is, which is +4. And if we did this with integer chips, sorry, I just noticed the camera is probably not showing you that there now. Let's see if I could lower it a bit here. There you go, my apologies. Again, I'm not in my classroom this week either, so it makes things a little different also. So when we write these out with chips, if we had 2 negative chips, and we went ahead and added 6 positive integer chips, These two here would cancel out because they'd become 0 pairs. And I'd be left with 4 integer chips, or positive 4. Be very careful, guys, with this next worksheet, because there are going to be quite a few number lines. There might be a few questions where they ask you to do integer chips. Once we're done with adding integers, we're going to go on to subtracting integers. Now, that's where things get a little bit confusing. It's actually much easier to add integers than it is to subtract them. And one of the strategies we're going to be going over when we talk about subtracting integers is to just turn them into addition questions. That's one of the strategies we can use, because addition is much easier than subtraction, especially visualizing it. Let's do just a couple integer chip review questions for those of you who maybe had a bit of trouble with the first one. You'll have some questions that just show integer chips like that. I just realized you can't see again, so let's get this camera back up here. Right up on the board now. And then it would say to write out the addition statement. So we have 4 red chips, or 4 positives, so we'll write plus 4. And we know these are addition statements. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negative chips. So I have 4 positives plus 6 negatives. Now remember, these 4 will all cancel out. They become what we call 0 pairs. So what's left over is 2 negative chips, or negative 2. Okay, now some of the questions do it the opposite, where they'll show you the addition statement and they'll say for you to model it. So let's just say we'll do one of those. Let's say we have negative 1 plus positive 5, and they'll want you to model it. So in this one, we'll have 1 negative plus 5 positives equals 4 positives. Hopefully you can see that. I guess I can't. There we go. And this 1 negative here will cancel out this one. And what's left will be 4 negatives. Just be careful, guys, when you're writing these or drawing these, because if it's messy and I can't tell what you're doing, it's going to be hard for me to justify giving you the mark. So just be careful when you're going through that, making sure we don't have to worry too much about that. Otherwise, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to message me, and stay tuned for more videos on subtracting integers later this week. Goodbye now.